I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. The Trump gang, already shaming us for all of history by rounding up good, honest, law-abiding Americans without criminal records and with families who they have started and raised here and forcibly sending them back to countries they barely know or do not know at all, may shortly begin to round up judges and forcibly send them to the immigration detention camps at which our neighbors are being scapegoated and uprooted from our country so Trump can fulfill his credo of hate, sadism, and barbarism. Literally forcing judges out of their homes so they can throw Americans out of their homes for the sake of Trump's pointless racist brutality. This is being done in our name, and shame on us. The day this was reported by the Reuters news agency, it largely slipped under the radar. A letter from the Department of Justice asking for 50 immigration judges to volunteer to go. The word used was deploy to New York, LA, Miami, New Orleans, San Francisco, Baltimore, Bloomington, Minnesota, El Paso and Harlingen, Texas, Omaha, Phoenix, and Imperial, California, and perhaps elsewhere, so as to dispense with due process as quickly as possible. Start deporting scapegoats at 6 a.m. Continue deporting scapegoats until 10 p.m. on split shifts for a month or two at a time. And not enough volunteer judges? To quote Reuters, if the department cannot find enough volunteers, the department would assign judges to detention centers, the sources said. What are we doing? What are we doing? You've heard the horror stories already. Mothers-in-law of military veterans, grandmothers, parents, natives of Puerto Rico, and their captors are too stupid to realize Puerto Rico is in the United States. Crime victims, people outside homeless shelters. Roberto Beristain, described by its mayor as one of the model citizens of South Bend, Indiana, restaurant owner there, a criminal because at Niagara Falls one time he reportedly accidentally walked over into Canadian territory, and husband of a Trump voter. Trump fooled her. He did say the good people would not be deported, the good people would be checked, she said. Madam, he lied to you. Your husband was deported because he was easy to find. What are we doing? What are we doing to Catalino Guerrero, who got a 60-day extension before what is still a scheduled deportation next month? He has reportedly been here more than 25 years. He has 2 jobs. He owns his own home in New Jersey. He pays taxes, has 4 children, 4 grandchildren, has type 2 diabetes, recently had a stroke, has heart problems, uses a cane, and has no criminal record. In fact, he has been the victim of a crime in our country, a home invasion. Why is Trump's ICE trying to deport him? He filed for asylum. Bad legal advice, he says, and if you file for asylum and you don't get it, you have to leave. He filed for asylum in 1992, and the ruling against him came 17 years later. On May 22nd, we may throw him out because he's replicating what my great-great-grandfather did, making his way here because in 1992, as in 1854, we were the light of the world, because both Catalino Guerrero and Friedrich Olbermann wanted freedom and better lives, maybe not in time for themselves, but in time for their children. Catalino Guerrero and Friedrich Olbermann, and how many of your ancestors, and how many of the ancestors of the unthinking humanoids who are cheering the Trump raids, and how many of the ancestors of Trump. And we're now relocating judges to the concentration camps with instructions to speed it up. What are we doing? What are we doing? Exactly what we are doing has been expressed poignantly 1,000 times through history, but never more so than by a 36-year-old man who faced expulsion from the country he had called home for half his life, but whose government now insisted he was illegal. He was not a professional writer, and the plea he made to the prince of his home region was not written in English. A historian found it last autumn, 111 years after it was written. The translation is by Austin Hinckley of Harper's Magazine, and I have made minor edits to the text for simplicity and clarity and to remove the fluffy flattery towards that royal prince. It is painful, but in its own way it is also beautiful, and it should be heard by everyone in this country as long as this purge goes on in our name. To quote it, my parents were honest, plain, pious vineyard workers. They strictly held me to everything good, to diligence and piety, to regular attendance in school and church, to absolute obedience toward the high authority. After my confirmation in 1882, I apprenticed to become a barber. I emigrated in 1885 in my 16th year. In America, I carried on my business with diligence, discretion, and prudence. God's blessing was with me, and I became rich. I obtained American citizenship in 1892. In 1902, I met my current wife. Sadly, she could not tolerate the climate in New York, and I went with my dear family back home. The town was glad to have received a capable and productive citizen. My old mother was happy to see her son, her dear daughter-in-law, and her granddaughter around her. She knows now that I will take care of her in her old age. But we were confronted all at once, as if by a lightning strike from fair skies, with the news that the ministry had decided that we must leave our residence. We were paralyzed with fright. Our happy family life was tarnished. My wife has become overcome by anxiety, and my lovely child has become sick. Why should we be deported? This is very, very hard for a family. What will our fellow citizens think if honest subjects are faced with such a decree, not to mention the great material losses it would incur? I would like to become a citizen again. In this urgent situation, I have no other recourse than the most humble request that the highest of all will himself in mercy deign to allow the applicant to stay. This is signed, your most humble and obedient Friedrich Trump. Trump's grandfather. He was in his native Bavaria deemed illegal, and he was rounded up and deported and sent back to New York with his pregnant wife Elizabeth, where literally within months she gave birth to Donald Trump's father, Fred. From the grave, Friedrich, Elizabeth, and Fred Trump, and Friedrich Olbermann, and millions of deportees and exiles and refugees and millions more who had nowhere to turn but here are asking us, what are we doing? And they are asking Donald Trump, what are you doing? Resist. Peace.